What's up, y'all? It's 10 at 3 time in Tennessee. How are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're doing really well on this Tuesday, December the 16th, 2025. 9 days until Christmas, as my son told me when he woke up this morning. And as he said last night before he went to bed, 10 days before Christmas. Then he woke up 9 days.
I mean, the countdown's on.
The
you gotta
countdown
love it.
is
This is the
on.
best time of the year for a kid.
Yeah,
best time of the year.
Well, and he's got his, Advent treat, box thing, and then he's got, Gus has his too that Hank gives him the treats from. So he's got the dog treat.
That the Advent things have become a thing. Like they weren't when I was a kid. Like growing up, we would do like actual Advent, at church and whatnot.
Yes,
but not like the whole Advent calendar thing. We would just kind of skip that and just count down on our own. Look at how many candles were lit, basically, and guess when Christmas was about to arrive.
We did the whole thing with the candles too,
yeah.
But we also had Advent calendars. I went to Catholic schools, so
Same. I also went to a Catholic school,
it was always
we had
just
the
kinda,
Advent wreath. Yeah,
it's just kind of what you did. So it just became part of it. But now it's like you get your bluey Advent calendar with all the chocolates in it every day, and it's like I don't remember getting this.
Yeah, I don't remember doing that either as a kid, but it's nice.
I remember just putting out things for like the nativity set and everything, and Grandma getting upset if they weren't in the right place. You know what I mean? Like,
Fair point.
That's not where that goes. That's not where that goes. And then what are you gonna do? Backsass your grandma? Not in our house.
No, of course not.
No, you didn't.
Grandma was always right. She had the ultimate overriding authority over everybody in the family. So. You just listen to Grandma.
Oh, yes. That's how things go. We got a lot to talk about on this show today. We obviously got some Tennessee basketball going on. And I hope that, first off, my voice, I hope it gets through this all right. I've still don't feel great, but hopefully we'll be coughing and sniffling at a minimum today. Working on that. Tried to time the cold medication just so it would hit at its peak right now. So hopefully we get through this with no problems with me. And I should have said hello to Tom Barclay too. But see, there you go. I'm all over the place today.
Well, other than the sore throat and cold there, how you feeling?
Well, and Tuesdays are also, I say this every week. Tuesdays we come in directly from the sports meeting. Like our weekly sports meeting is at 2:30 and it goes on till like 2:59 and then the show starts at 3. So it's like, oh, here we go. And it's hard to kind of get your bearings right before you go in there. But we're professionals. This is what we're supposed to do. We will do that. Lots to discuss today. Tennessee basketball, big game tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, over there just a couple miles away at Food City Center. The Vols playing Louisville, the 20th-ranked Volunteers, against the 11th-ranked Cardinals. Interestingly, off the top here, Tennessee, we said yesterday, looked like it was going to be the first time in 6 seasons that Tennessee would be a home underdog in Knoxville. First time since the COVID era that Tennessee was going to be a home underdog. And that streak might continue now because Tennessee opened as a 1.5-point underdog. As of right now, Tennessee is a 2.5-point favorite. So that line has moved not just a little, but a lot. Now, that could mean any number of things. That could mean that just Sharp's money has been going in on Tennessee hard. That could mean that a bunch of people said, whoa, Tennessee's a home underdog. And they started throwing money at Tennessee knowing how big of a game this was for the Vols. And then the money starts going that way. All of a sudden, Vegas gets a little cold feet, starts moving the line a little bit, right? So maybe there's some sort of a health issue with Louisville, right? We know Tennessee has the health issue because Cade Phillips is out for the season, but it's Tennessee still got a lot of guys in the front court there, and Louisville's still a formidable opponent, man. That team's only lost, I believe, was it once all season, I want to say? It can't be more than – it's 9-1, and the one loss was at Arkansas, which isn't a bad team at all. SEC team, John Calipari's there, 3 or 4 first-round picks on that Arkansas team. Now, is it a great team right now? I don't know, but it's a decent one. And Bud Walton's always a tough place to go play ball. And Louisville was competitive, I felt like, in that game. And since then, they've been whooping up on some dudes. And they've got, I think you could safely say, I think there's 4 guys on this Louisville roster, I think, who will be drafted. Maybe one definitely in the first round. Like Brown, the point guard, absolutely. That kid's a lottery pick. But then there's about 3 or 4 others who maybe could be guys who do that. But this is a team that plays up-tempo basketball. It plays fast. It can really shoot the basketball, which should be a concern for Tennessee because we know Rick Barnes' defenses as good as they are, if you can hit a corner three, you're going to put points on the board. Because Tennessee makes it hard to get the ball there with the rotations, but if you can get the ball there, you're going to get some clean looks from out there. And Louisville's got some guys on that team who can shoot, especially Isaac McNeely, who shoots at about a 40, there we go with the coughs already, 42% three-point shooter, I do believe. And this is a guy Tennessee tried really hard to get out of the portal. Really, really, really good shooter who Tennessee wanted badly. Louisville ended up making him an offer he couldn't refuse. And so he goes over there, and can't blame him. That's he got a much more lucrative offer from Louisville. And I've said before, I've said it again, especially if you're not a guaranteed pro, if somebody offers you a lot of money in your comparable programs and you get offered a lot of money somewhere, I don't blame somebody for doing that. But there are some really good players on that team, and Tennessee has got its work cut out for it tonight. And I said yesterday, I say it again today, really interested to see what that crowd is like. Because Tennessee hadn't played a home game in about a month, I believe. It's been about 4 weeks. And you ask, why is that? Well, it's because it's the holidays. And smart teams don't schedule home games during winter breaks, during Thanksgiving break. You go away. Why does everybody go away? Well, first off, because there's money to do that. Secondly, those tournaments are placed there because students aren't in school. Students make the home court advantage. Why would you want to play a home game with the students not there? You wouldn't want to. So that's why you go play some. Now you see, like, Tennessee plays some games in Nashville. Gonzaga plays games in Seattle. Kentucky went down and played a game. In Knoxville. The teams in Texas might go play in Dallas or Houston, San Antonio. You go play where it makes sense to do it at that time. So this is not normally a game that you would want to maybe be playing at home. But, it's not just the Tennessee students that put 21,000, 22,000 people in those stands. This is a good-sized city. This is a big basketball game. It's going to be a full house. It's just you wonder how many students will be there because they're home from finals now and for winter break. But they haven't been there in a month. So there's a lot of people who kind of been itching. And the night of that Houston game, people are probably really itchy to get in and see this team. Every game kind of since then, maybe not as much. But I'm not panicking. Not doing it. I think it's fair to be a little concerned. You can't sit there and put your head in the sand with 3 straight losses. It's like the games matter. We're not going to say they don't. But I still think this could be one of those Rick Barnes teams that is the inverse of what we've seen so many times during his career, which is, when a team peaks early and then kind of runs out of steam a little bit late physically. Because normally he's had these teams kind of really ready to go tactically, schematically, boom, right from the outset. But then maybe they haven't evolved as much or teams have figured out their warts and that can be an issue when you've coached for a long time. A lot of people know what you're trying to do. Now that means you constantly have to reinvent yourself and you usually have good players or you wouldn't still be in the game because you wouldn't be winning games and you wouldn't have a job. So there's a lot of ways to look at it, but bottom line is people know for the most part what Rick Barnes wants to do. And so I think sometimes by the end of these seasons, people get a good look at his teams. They make an adjustment. Tennessee has one of those games where it just can't make a shot, and there you go. So I think this team has a chance because there's some new pieces on it. They're not as much kind of fused together yet. I think this team has a chance with its new pieces to be a pretty darn good basketball team by the end of the year. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means I still think that's a pretty moderately safe bet. I kind of watch this team and I think I see where this thing could be really good. And some people, in fairness, don't see that. Some people think there's kind of a ceiling on this team as like a Sweet 16-ish kind of team or something. And hey, maybe. But I still think there's room for this bunch to grow, and I think Estrella gets back in there and plays more consistently if he can stay healthy, knock on wood. That helps. I think Akpar has been a little up and down, but what we've seen from him at times this season has been a marked step in the right direction. Boswell is a guy who I think is taking some steps forward. And ultimately, it comes down to how much tighter can Jacoby Gillespie run the ship. And I think he can. He's not going to be a floor general in that pure Zakai Ziegler sense. It's kind of not everything he is as a player. As good as he is, and he's really, really good. He's a little bit more of a, I don't want to say combo guard, because I don't know if pure point guards exist anymore. They just don't. Everybody's got to score the ball. You got to space the floor. And I think there's more to his game. I think if he just tightens up a few things on both ends of the floor, I think things open up for this team. I'm usually pretty honest when I don't see hope somewhere. Like, for better or for worse, there was like a decade there in Tennessee football specifically where I would go into games saying they can't win this game. I would sit there and I would say, listen, maybe the stars could align. Maybe they force a lot of turnovers. Maybe half the other team eats really bad eggs and bacon before the game and they get sick. Maybe they get bad chicken parm, some salmonella, something. Maybe something weird happens. Mm-hmm. But there were some games against the Georgias and Bamas in football where I would tell people, listen, go have a good time, but don't expect anything. I'm not opposed to saying that. I think this could be a pretty good basketball team. I really do. I don't think you beat Houston by accident. I just don't. And it's not that I go back to this. They beat Houston and they didn't shoot well when they did it. If they'd shot the lights out in that game, I would have said, okay, maybe it's a little fluky. They didn't shoot well. They just did all the other things right. And if you can do that, then what happens if you do shoot well? Well, pretty good argument right there that you can beat just about anybody. So I'm not, and I know they had circled that game for personal reasons too, because last season some of the guys on that team, I get it. And maybe you get a little bit high on your own supply after that game. I get it. Maybe you get a little bit lax in the details that you couldn't afford to do and you paid for it. I get that. I'm not there on this team. And it's unfortunate because anytime Tennessee basketball does anything that isn't great, the conversation immediately goes to the darkest places. And this happens at a lot of places, by the way. So I'm not sitting here criticizing specifically Tennessee people, Tennessee fans. I'm not doing that. But I am saying that there are a lot of people who understand that the loud fringe reaction from a small kind of fringe minority of people around Tennessee basketball, it's a little weird. It's a little weird. I'm not going to tell you how to feel about anything. But I will tell you that when I see those people after Tennessee basketball games, and it's not enough of a minority fringe that you can ignore it. It's too much for that. It's just a little too large to be ignored. And it's weird. Because basketball is not football. A couple regular season losses don't mean anything. Now, those people point to Tennessee's lack of postseason success. And okay, fair point there. That's a fair point. I'll give you a fair counterpoint. Tennessee's been to 3 Elite Eights in program history. 2 of them have come in the past 2 seasons. So relative to the program's history, these are the good days. Now, are they the best days? Not quite. Are they the best days to this point? Yes, they are. Objectively, they are. 2/3 of your program's Elite Eights are the past 2 seasons. And then you're going to wait until the next season. They beat a couple really good teams, then lose to a couple teams they shouldn't lose to, and then you're just out. That's weird. It's weird. I think it's weird. You can think whatever you want. I don't think there's a chance Tennessee plays pretty well and loses this game. And it's not because Tennessee is not good or won't be good. It's because Louisville's really good too. I'm not giving a prediction because I am on the worst. I'm on an anti-heater. I'm on a freezer. I'm on an absolute freezer that extended, by the way, to fantasy football last night, where my team, which had been so good all season, needed one more catch from Jalen Waddle to advance into the semifinals of the Family Fantasy League. And I've got to hear it from cousins and siblings. And I'm not a big fan of that. Jalen Waddle, you're on notice. So that's where my streak is lately. Everything's coming up wrong. So maybe I just shouldn't offer a prediction tonight because I honestly don't know. I honestly don't. I mean, I will say I don't usually think Tennessee's going to lose in that building because it doesn't happen very often. Now, it's happened in exhibition games the past 2 seasons, but usually doesn't happen a lot. It happens because it's basketball. Doesn't happen a lot. So I'm not offering a prediction on that one tonight. I'm just not. You know what? I bet at 6:59 I'll be sitting there at Food City Center with Emily Ray Cochran, and I'll be like, I can't not do it. I'm offering a prediction. But right now, as I'm sitting here right now.
Or maybe like when you're sitting there, you go, man, I should have offered that prediction. I would have been right. I would have broken the streak finally.
Well, no, because I'm not going to be one of these people who after the fact tells you what it would have been behind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. That's
like I want to be trustworthy, and I would be honest in a situation like that, but there would be no proof that I was honest.
Right.
So therefore, I wouldn't expect people to believe that.
Come in and tell people, I told you so.
Sure.
Didn't tell anybody.
No, I listen. My Normandale Hoosiers. My team is on the floor.
Yeah.
I tell you what my team is. I'll tell you what I think. And maybe before that game tonight, if so, I'll put it on the socials. I'll put it out there everywhere. I'll put it out there on the X Twitter account. I'll put it on Blue Sky. I'll put it on all that stuff. But I think it's an exciting game, for sure. And I hope that the lack of students there doesn't kind of make it a little quieter. It's a 7 p.m. game, so it might be a slightly later arriving crowd because kind of traffic getting in there is a bit of an issue at times. But I think it'll be – people are getting ready for Christmas anyway,
That's
right?
the thing. It's time for break for a lot of folks, you know. They're heading out there thinking, I mean, are finals still going on or is that over? We finished with finals week over at UT.
Yeah, it's – I mean, and I would think that some of the students who are local would be there anyway, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think they would be. And you would think that maybe some students, even some who are from Chattanooga, Nashville, Atlanta, Charlotte, maybe they come back, maybe they come back to just check out this game and then go back home, you know what I mean? Like I could see that. Well, I guess if you live on campus, you don't have a choice in the matter. But if you live off campus, you obviously could stay here if you wanted. So, and some of the locals I think would be there anyway. So I don't think it's going to be like a no-show in the student section. I just think it's not the same, right? It's just not the same. And the last thing I'll say about it probably is that, this is Tennessee's first game in 10 days. So
yeah,
is that a good thing?
Exactly. You never quite know if it's going to be a good or a bad thing depending on if you're warm or hot, warm, cold, whatever.
No question.
Or you're well rested, one of the two.
Well, and particularly on this because you're getting used to some different rotations now with Cade Phillips not in the mix and all the minutes he's not getting are getting spread elsewhere. And so, are you playing more minutes with just more big men are playing more of the minutes, or are you playing more 4-guard, 3-guard lineups now? Like what are you working on there? And is it good that you got 10 days to kind of just work on some stuff?
Yeah. And I mean, you were sitting at the practices, right, watching them doing drills. So at the very least, they've been, focusing on the things they want to fix, right?
And getting balloons popped and running laps. Popping balloons if they turn the ball over, which again, I mean, but you would think like normally during a season, if I'm a coach, those are the things when you take that much time off, no matter what sport it is, one of the biggest concerns that you have in a situation like that is your rhythm, is the fluidity in your offense. Because you normally, athletes are really, really significant creatures of habit. They they just like the same movements, the same techniques, the same schedule, the same foods before games, the same, it's just kind of, not everybody's superstitious, but everybody's probably at least a little stitious. And so you've got, and you get used to, in basketball, you get used to this kind of, every 2 or 3 days you got a game. Every 2 or 3 days you got a game. And so that means that you're normally you're off a certain day, you're watching film a certain day, you're going hard at it one day, you're going lighter the next day. And so the past 10 days, it's been like, you don't have any games. So you're trying to simulate that in practice because you want to keep the schedule as much as you can. But at the end of the day, you're scrimmaging. So that's not the same. There's no crowd either supporting you or booing you or both. And so you don't, so that's where it can take a game or two to get back up to speed in that way. But what if you were nowhere near your best going into it? Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe a hard reset is good then. I don't know. We'll find out tonight because Louisville is a good team that hadn't been taking much of a break because they played just a couple days ago. I think 3 days ago. So they're on their normal kind of grind. But in football, it's kind of the weekly thing where, every day is kind of the same. People say the whole nameless, faceless opponent thing. Like every week you're just playing a team and it's whatever color they're wearing. That's the opponent that week, no matter how good or bad they are. Because you treat Monday the same, Tuesday the same, Wednesday the same. They're all mapped out. And the only thing that's different, is what time the game is on Saturday impacts what time you wake up, what the meals are, when you travel the day before, when you watch a movie, when you take a nap. You kind of calibrate your schedule for here's what I normally do for noon games, here's what I normally do for 3 or 4 games, here's what I do for night games. And for basketball, it's kind of the same, but you got the midweek thing in the middle of it too, and travel and whether you don't. But 10 days off is just unusual. So, and that's one of those things that people don't want to hear about, but is a thing. Because people don't like things that sound like excuses. Even if they're explanations that sound like excuses, people will call them excuses. And hey, at the end of the day, your job is to go coach and play and produce. Do I get to go out there and misspell words and mispronounce words because I just came back from vacation? Probably not. Would I still have bosses unhappy with me if I did that? Probably. Hey, it's okay. You got some facts wrong here, but you just came back from vacation. It's not really how the thing works.
Those are never going to be uttered.
That's so I mean that.
Never going to hear. You got facts wrong. Okay.
That's what I mean.
Those two words don't.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like maybe if you accidentally pronounce a word incorrectly, okay, he's been gone for a week, But I'm saying there's levels, right? There's at some point there's okay, I get it. Okay, I get it. No, I don't get this. You can't do that. And sports are no different, right? You got to go out there and perform. But when you get your schedule thrown off, it absolutely impacts things because now from the rest of the season going forward, the schedule will be the schedule. And the only thing that's different is that you will have the conference tournament where you play until you lose, which could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, depending on when you get there and when you leave. And then you have time off before the postseason, the real postseason. So it's interesting anyway. But, I mean, this is a good Louisville team. Conwell, Brown, McNeely, Frew, Hadley, Woolley, Ruths, Rogers. They got a bunch of players on that team, man. They got a bunch of guys on that team who can play. And Kelsey's a good coach. And the old KFC Yum Papa John's family has handsomely rewarded that team for last season getting the thing back off the mat. And they care up there. It's Louisville. They'll pay you.
Yeah.
They'll take care of your guys.
That center sits right off the interstate. You can't miss it.
Nope.
The big old Yum Center.
Nope. And it's different because it's not it's because it's off campus and it's kind of close to it, but it's off campus. And, I don't judge, but I just don't love off campus arenas or football stadiums. And I understand that there are times where maybe because of your geographical location, you don't have a choice. Or maybe if you're in a city like Louisville where it makes more sense because the university and city coming together, it's a big enough city where you get big concerts and things. And do you really need 2 big arenas? Maybe not. So you just kind of come together and make one super arena. I get where that makes sense. And for like Miami football, I get why they play off campus. Now, they play a long way away from their campus, a long way away from their campus. But I get why people have to do that. And technically, Rupp Arena is off campus, but it's close enough that it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Lexington's not a big enough place where it really differentiates.
Exactly.
But I don't know. Like I like that here the Coliseum and the arena are two different places, and the Tennessee Theater. So you still have different sizes of bands that can go to different places, and then for basketball you can keep the stuff there.
Exactly. They did a good job of integrating the campus into downtown, that makes it very easy for folks to travel around.
Yes,
area, right?
it is easy in that way. But so I don't judge because not everybody has the same resources. Not everyone has the same geographical footprint. Like if you're at A&M or Auburn, build whatever you want. Mississippi State, build whatever you want. Do you want a building that's an acre in size? Sure, you can have it. Doesn't matter. A&M's football stadium, I think, is like the size of a village. The physical footprint of it is comically large. They got room. Who cares? They can build whatever they want. Now, of course, usually that means you're going to have smaller basketball arenas because Tennessee's able to have 22,000 because the city can support it. Because if it's just students, if Knoxville's an hour away from any kind of big city, you're going to have a 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,000 seat arena because that's all you can fill because people can't get there for weekday games. That's why Auburn Arena is the size it is. That's why the Pavilion at Ole Miss is the size it is. So you got to give and take there. And I understand why places have off-campus arenas. I just don't love them. It's not, to me, college sports, unless it's a bowl game or an NCAA tournament, unless it's the postseason, it just feels like you should be able to, go outside and you're on campus. You should be able to see the library from the arena, right? Like, you should be able to see things that you notice from the arena. Like that's the school. This is part of the school. This is part of the fabric of the school. And it is what it is. But big game tonight for Tennessee. Big game. Got a lot of football to talk about, too, by the way, because if you've missed this and you're asking, why didn't I lead with this? Because I wanted to do a little basketball first. Big basketball game tonight. But, and this is not, I wouldn't call it surprising news, but Joey Aguilar is going to play in the Music City Bowl. We talked about this, I believe, I don't want to say what day it was. It was one of the days when Emily was in here. And we talked about here are the reasons why you'd want Aguilar to play. Here are the ones why you maybe wouldn't. And I was on team Joey needs to play for a couple reasons. One, I think anybody who's on the 2025 Tennessee football team that wants to participate in the bowl game should get to play in that bowl game. I even think that people who have put themselves in the portal, if they want to play in the bowl game, and if they're not going to talk to the coaches of the opponent you're playing in the bowl game, I would let them play in the bowl game. They are on that team. That team is that team until the bowl game. So and they might not want to play it. They might want to go in the portal and go. But I just, and sometimes it's not logistically possible. Because once you go in the portal, you want to go take visits, you want to go, study playbooks of places you might go. You might be distracted and you might not want to play. You might think it's awkward being in the same locker room as your teammates. But I think anybody who was on the 2025 Tennessee football team that wants to play in the bowl game should at least be allowed to dress in the bowl game. Unless they're taking a visit to Illinois, in which case you can see the conflict there. Or if you're in the playoff, don't take any visits to anybody in the playoff. Just don't do it. That would be my thought on it. But that's number one, is I think anybody who was on the team that year deserves to play in that bowl game if they want to, and they're not visiting another team you're playing. Number two, in Tennessee's specific situation, I think it makes sense to go ahead and play Aguilar. a couple years ago, it made a lot of sense for Tennessee and Joe Milton to kind of go their separate ways. Whether Milton wanted to or not, they allowed him to word it like it was his decision. But at the end of the day, they knew the keys were going to Nico Iamaleava as soon as that bowl game ended anyway. And they paid all this money for this kid. Let's not just have him have the spring and preseason camp as a dress rehearsal. Let's give him a game out there for 60 minutes against a good opponent, a really good defense on paper. Let's do that. And I think you could see that benefited him. It benefited everyone, regardless of how that went that day. And he did play well. He did. Call it what it is. Like, they managed the game well for him. They didn't ask him to do too much. They let him do 10 things at 100 miles an hour rather than 100 things at 10 miles an hour. He produced. They won the game. He got momentum going into the next season. And what happens the next season? Tennessee goes to the playoff. Was Nico great? Not usually. But he was fine. And there were reasons why you wanted to do that. If you're Tennessee right now, I can think of a bunch of reasons why you wouldn't want to do something similar this season. For starters, there is a chance that Joey Aguilar is your quarterback next season. Now, a series of things have to happen to make that a reality, but it's in the realm of possibility. Because Joey Aguilar probably, I think at best, is a late-round draft pick, probably not a draft pick right now. So if he wins that lawsuit, if Pavia and he and those other 17 guys, if it's still that many guys, or more or less, or whoever it is, if that temporary ruling becomes a permanent ruling and you splinter and completely separate JUCO and NCAA eligibility, then Joey Aguilar has one season of NCAA football left on his clock. And with his track record, especially, by the way, going to Tennessee as late as he did this season and being as productive as he was he an All-American? No. But for a guy who didn't even get a spring practice to go out there and run that offense and put up those numbers, hey, that guy at his age, his experience, goes in the portal, he's making more than he did last year. Guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. If he's playing college football next season, he is making more money than he did this season. Guaranteed. Because you can say what you will about Appalachian State. When he went to UCLA, what he was going to get there was good, but he hadn't really proved what he could do at kind of a big level. You know, he just didn't have the opportunity. Well, now we've seen proof of concept. Now we've seen it. So at his age, his personality, his maturity level, his outlook on life, his general demeanor, the way people gravitate toward him, he'll get good money. Good money. I would say more than he possibly could make in the NFL if he wins that lawsuit and is able to play college football next season. So, if you're Tennessee, it doesn't really behoove you to say, hey, why don't we go ahead and just let some of these young guys play this game, and thank you for your service, Joey. You might need that guy. I don't know what their plans are. And it would be a bad thing if I knew what they were. Because if I knew what they were, that would mean all the agents and quarterbacks know what it is, and Tennessee's going to get played like a fiddle. I can tell you that much. It's good. You need to keep it close to your chest. I'll talk about that in a minute. But you might need him. Because what's the one way that if you're Tennessee, you can what's your best chance of keeping those two young 5-stars on your roster next season while having a proven Power 4 SEC caliber quarterback veteran on the roster? It's the guy you had last year. That's the one way you can package it. That's the one way, I think, that I see that you can package it to tell those two young kids, hey, You're still, Winnie is going to be one play away. And, this was our quarterback last year. We didn't bring somebody in to replace you. Hey, man, this guy was the starter last season. No, we would never bring somebody in to replace you. We didn't think this guy was going to come back and look. Hey, NCAA, never know what's going to happen. Oh, look at that. Here he is. What? Shucks. What are you going to do? Because if you went and got somebody out of the portal who's better than Joey Aguilar, you're not keeping those two young kids. At least one of them probably is going, I think. Might be wrong about that, but it's what I think. And you do that, and it's Aguilar? Hey, maybe you have found one of the few ways to have three really good quarterbacks or three potentially good quarterbacks on one roster. Maybe you found the one way to do that. And again, I'm laying out like a best case scenario. And we know things don't always go that way. We know that. That's life. But we talked about yesterday, what are the three options for Tennessee? And there are three. There are three options, more or less. You bring in one of the top names in the portal, and you potentially run off one or two of those young 5-stars in Faison Brandon or George McIntyre. Or you let those two young 5-star talents compete for the job. May the best man win. Either one or both of them are your starting quarterbacks next season. And you try to develop, you try to hit the ground running. Or three, you bring in someone from the portal who's good enough to help you, but not such a huge name that you're scaring off the big guys or the young talented 5-star guys. Well, if Joey Aguilar stays, you might be backing into option number 3, which might be the best option. Because if you're Tennessee, the devil that you know will be a lot better than the one you don't. And if you're Josh Heupel and you know that schedule is challenging next season. You know it is. You know it's a tougher schedule next season than this season. And you know that you probably don't need to be losing 4 games again. And you're playing a harder schedule. But I tell you, having a guy who was my battle captain last season makes me feel a little better going into that. Just does. Because I think, and if you're Braylon Staley, you're Mike Matthews, you're Ethan Davis, you're Deshaun Bishop, you're the O-lineman, those guys love Aguilar. If he comes back, they're happy. So that's one. You're still going to have to pay those guys because that's college football now. You still got to pay them. It's like, hey, I love you, man, but you got to pay me. But if you're going to do that, hey, maybe you don't have to twist their arm. They're really happy to get their receivers coach and quarterbacks coach and all those guys back. So if you give them their quarterback on top of it, if I'm Braylon Staley and the guy who threw the ball to me enough for me to be the freshman of the year in the Southeastern Conference, I'm pretty happy about that. If I'm Ethan Davis, as soon as I got healthy, I sure did get the ball a lot from Aguilar. I'd feel good about that. Whereas, how am I going to be with this new guy? I don't know. He's really talented, but he's young. We're not on the. Are we going to get on the same page? I don't know, man. That situation down in Baton Rouge with Lane Kiffin and all those guys, that looks pretty good. This is how things can go. That's why I think, and I don't think you operate from a place of fear, but I think you operate from a place of reality. And I think from reality, if you can get Aguilar back, man, he has to get better in some ways. Now, the Leroy Jenkins stuff, that's never going away. That's never going away. He is going to, once or twice a game, throw a football that should not be thrown. I think there's a pretty significant amount of evidence there that guys who are like that, and him included, you can't change that. And in some ways, you don't want to really change it because they also make a lot of plays that way. They make plays that aren't there to be made. They give their guys a chance to make plays, and their guys play harder knowing their quarterback trusts them to go make those plays. So that gives them confidence. But the one thing he's got to do better if he comes back next season, if he comes back next season, he's got to get better on some of that RPO stuff, those decisions, the mesh points, the Tennessee's offense is one of many that runs off this stuff, right? You know what it is. The quarterback gets the ball. He's in a shotgun. He's holding the ball out, and he's looking at the defense, and he's either handing it off to the back, keeping it himself to run, or throwing it. And he's making that decision several times per game. And I think that's the one thing. There are people who know a lot more about X's and O's than me, but that just looked like an area where Aguilar was not always making the right decisions. And that's something that is a staple of Tennessee's offense. And I think there are times where he was able to overcome that, and despite making the wrong read, he made a good play. But you need to be pretty good about making that read. It's kind of hard to do offensively what you're doing because you're not running a lot of stuff. You're not running a lot of stuff because you're going at tempo. It's just hard. But all of your plays, you make up for that by your tempo, and you make up for that by the number of options you have on a play. Even if you're doing what Tennessee does and you're taking away half the field sometimes, you've got at least 4 options pretty much on every one of those. You can either hand it to the back and he's going that way, or you keep it and you're running that way, or you're throwing it to this guy or that guy or that guy. So even if you're not throwing to these guys over here, that's still multiple options on a play. And one of the things that made Vanderbilt really good this season was that, yes, Pavia occasionally threw the ball where he shouldn't throw it, but in general, on those kind of quarterback read plays, he was making the right reads. And if you spread the field and you got pretty good athletes and you make the right decisions at quarterback there, then you're opening up the field. Then you don't have to run a million things because you're just doing what the Heupel offense is supposed to do, which is the defense shows you what you're doing. Because I see this, I do that. I see this, I do that. I see this, I do that. And you rep that every day. What's that? The quote from the Denzel Washington quote from Remember the Titans when he's like, it's like 6 plays, wherever. Novocaine, just give it time. 6 plays. Novocaine, give it time. I butchered that, but you get where I'm going with that. You've seen the quote, I think. If you're making the right decisions, then you're just doing what option teams have done since football was invented, which is going where the defense tells you to go because that's where the space is. And I think that's the area where I don't think you can all of a sudden have Aguilar just always make the right decisions. Because in terms of when to be aggressive and when not, he's aggressive. He's going to be. And that's fine. But to get to that level Tennessee wants to get to, you got to make the right reads. And I think there were times where I just don't think he saw the field as well as he needed to. And that, in fairness, that could be something that does get better with a second year in the system. Because you can't change your personality. You can't change your aggressive nature. But you can understand your own system better so when you're not thinking, you're still making more of the right plays. And that's something that I think Tennessee should consider. Or he loses that lawsuit and it doesn't matter. Or he decides, you know what? Even if it's just a couple of online classes, I don't really want to go to class anymore. I don't even want to do these online classes, these online grad courses. I don't want to take ballroom dancing for a master's degree. I'm ready to just move on with my life. Hey, tip the cap.
That ballroom dancing scene. It's pretty lucrative when you.
There was that. It goes back to that Matt. There was that Matt Leinart quote years ago when you looked at Matt Leinert's USC class schedule while he was there. He's taking ballroom dancing and then a bunch of other stuff, and so you're like, oh, you can do that. I was like, I took racquetball in college, so you can. Sure. I think I took softball as a class too in college. You get PE credits. Yeah, PE's a class, right?
That counts. It's an art of some sort.
PE is a class. All through school, PE is a class. So, yeah, and I might be harping too much on something that's not the most likely scenario for Tennessee. I'm just saying that might be the way to make that situation work. Of course, if you're Tennessee, maybe you've already made a decision and you're leaning toward one of these portal guys. Maybe you've already made a decision and you're going to lean into, with all respect to Jake Merklinger, you're leaning into the whole McIntyre, Faison Brandon era. And fair enough. I mean, hey, if it's hard to sell. If Tennessee lost 4 games next season or more, there's one way where that becomes palatable, and that's if either George McIntyre or Faison Brandon is a really exciting freshman who looks like you can build around this dude and you can be really good the next year. Excuse me. I think you can sell that. That, I think, is something that most fans could be like, fine. Yeah, you're right. He is a young, talented quarterback. Keep that guy. But keep this guy, build around him, and you got something there. I could see that being something people look into. But the other thing to consider is the possibility that maybe Tennessee, moving forward, you're happy to get the guys you got now. Excuse me. Gosh, it's driving me nuts. But maybe, just maybe you mostly stop recruiting high school quarterbacks moving forward. Boy, that sounds crazy, doesn't it?
What do you mean by that, right? That's
what I mean by that is that going into this season,
yeah,
of all the Power 4 teams in college football, nearly 2/3 of them had a week 1 starting quarterback who had portaled at least once. Across the SEC, it was more like 50-50. But you see Miami. I mean, for years, Oklahoma.
I mean, at this rate,
this
is how this goes.
Look at Miami the past couple of years, right? You go.
It's true.
You know, you go from, Cam Ward to Beck. I mean, Oklahoma did it for years there. They won a couple Heismans with some transfer quarterbacks who came in and won Heisman trophies. The guy who went to Duke from Tulane got Duke an ACC title. Now, again, that's a weird year for the ACC, but still, like, you look around, look what Aguilar did at Tennessee, look at the Ole Miss guys. I'm just saying.
Under the current structure, yes. I think
and if they don't change this, because I am a big proponent of having as much NIL money as you can put into known commodities. Because if it's my money, it's not. But if it's my money, I want to know that you're giving me the greatest chance possible to have return on investment there. I want some ROI. If I'm paying all this, I want it to be either a guy who's coming from the portal, who you know what he is. Look at that Texas Tech team. You know what he is. Or he's so talented as a high school player that if he goes to class and doesn't get in trouble, he'll be a star. Like, I want to know if I'm giving that much money, or any money, really, would I rather go spend, if you tell me right now, you're taking $3 million from me, and it's going to go directly to Tennessee starting quarterback next season. And it could go either A, to a quarterback who probably isn't the best in the country, but you're pretty darn sure he's in the top 10. Or a 5-star freshman from high school. I'd probably rather have the older guy, because I know that at the bare minimum, I've got a really good quarterback. So if I'm spending the money, I want to know. And again, as more private equity comes into college football, which I cannot stand, but they've not found a way to stop it. And if the rules don't change, every year you're buying a new team. I mean, my God,
exactly.
at Southern Cal, they're
There's just no boundary there.
they're doing re-signing ceremonies
There's
at
no
USC.
repercussions for players or teams, for them just basically to bounce around at this point.
Yeah, and so
I think we fast track our, the way this looks is going, right? Is you're fast tracking to a scenario where they start introducing contracts into the college sphere.
And then you say, listen, what will I tolerate? What do I want? What's most important to me? Is it more important to me that I have a program that adheres as much as possible to the traditional college football model? Now, you'll pay the guys, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Once the guys have earned it, you have no problem paying them. But would you rather do that? Or would you rather say, this is what it is, you want wins, I want wins, this is how we get wins?
Exactly.
Which way, that's what I'm asking, which way, what's ultimately more important to you? Do you want to keep showing up every year, spending all this money that you're making, all this money that you're throwing into this as you're a fan at any level, how expensive it is? And now to park, to get a hot dog, to get a beer at a game, we know what these prices are. We know how much money all this costs. Is it more important to me that this is built the way that's as close as possible to the old college football model? And that, hey, we're a ranked team, we're in that fight. May not be great, but we're not usually bad. We're always in that mix. We could cycle up and get one. Or give me mercenaries and give me wins, or give me the most chance for wins. Now that's, I can't answer that. That's up to you, the fan.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, mercenary football, which is kind of what it's moved toward, isn't it?
But it's kind of always been that way. It's just that these were 4-year contracts and not 1-year contracts.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's completely different. It's not.
But there is a lot more volatility.
Sure.
When we talk about, especially this time of year,
Yeah.
when you start seeing people flying off to different schools and
Or you got TJ Finley, who, if he wins his waiver, could be playing at a 7th college next season, which is hilarious to me because it's like, hey, quick, TJ, what's the alma mater? Dude, no way he knows. There's no way he knows. It's like, which one, man? I got 7 of them. I got at least 6, maybe 7 of them. Will he even know what color the current team he's playing on wears? Does he know the name of the city he's playing in?
That would be the true test.
Because, like, I still
hopefully people know what city they're living.
No, what I'm saying
in.
is like, but what I'm saying is like when I go to places where, like if you get your, like at a grocery store or drugstore or whatever, you type in like your zip code. I moved a couple years ago and still occasionally put the wrong zip code in there because it's from the old one. Like, are you still doing that? Are you being like, yeah, send my stuff to, Baton Rouge? Oh, wait, hold on. No, where am I? Auburn? No, wait. Atlanta? No. No, wait. Bowling Green? No. Where am I?
Yeah, it used to, like during the coach introduction, we hire a new head coach or whatever, and they're introduced. Usually there's a test there to make sure they know what city they're in, right? And who was it on the Vols that, like maybe a decade past, slipped up there, said their old team?
Oh, that, and I've heard Tennessee University before, which makes me laugh.
I'm trying to think of who that
I've
was.
heard, we're going to have to go back and look that up because I know there was someone used to say Tennessee University and it cracked me up every time. But it's, it's what's important to you. And so quarterback, you can only have one, right? It's hard to have more than one that's pretty good. And you're going to be putting pretty good money into that. So I'm not talking about you stop recruiting high school players at every position. You can't do that. That's not feasible. That's chaos. But at quarterback, there's a decent argument to make that you're just going out every year and getting what you can in the portal. And here's how this guy fits what you've already got now. I'm just saying when 2/3 of the Power 4 starters going into the season have portaled at least one time, at that point, you're not a good business person if you're not at least considering that possibility. You have to, that's just, it's just reality. It's just reality. It's saying, here's how many resources I have. what's the best way that I can spend these resources to get what I want? What's the most efficient way to do that? What's the most likely way to do that? What gives me the greatest floor? What gives me the greatest ceiling? What gives me the lowest floor? What gives me the lowest ceiling? That's what this comes down to. This is why programs have general managers, a lot of them. This is why, because you are managing not just your roster, but your finances. And at the quarterback position, I think there's at least a half-decent argument out there to say, hey, are 5-star high school quarterbacks where you want to spend your money? I don't know. This is a year-to-year thing, man. It's a year-to-year thing. And no matter how talented a kid is, if he's a freshman quarterback, he's a freshman quarterback. So if you're Tennessee, it's just something to think about. Now, I'm not saying Tennessee should or shouldn't do. I'm saying I think you need to at least think about, is this the best way to be spending the money? I don't know that it is, unless you get it just absolutely right. And even then, it's an 18-year-old. It's a lot of responsibility on an 18-year-old. But, hey, that's where Tennessee could be. We'll see. We don't know. We'll have more to talk about tomorrow, guys. We'll have a lot of basketball, obviously, to recap from tonight's game. We'll have more on whatever's going on in the portal or portal plans or coaching decisions or anything else. Maybe have some video interviews with players and everything. We'll have all of that hopefully tomorrow, and we'll see you to start that in about 23 hours.